Hello and welcome back to another episode of Websies, a series where we'll try to build a little web app. Well, in the past overly long session, admittedly, we finally got to a point where these filters here work as expected. And yeah, it's probably just a minor thing and I spend a lot of time with it. But at least, I learned something and maybe at some point this will be even better. But for now, I'm fine. Also, image mint finally works. This means I can distribute or build this stuff. So in theory, grunt build should give me some sort of binary or some sort of pack. Maybe it puts it to a folder here that shows up at some point. Sometime. Okay. So where is it? It's a dist. So dist is basically the entire thing. 704 kilobytes, decent, and has everything you would expect, I guess. And here we are. Nice. So that's how I will eventually run it. And the next thing I'd like to have a look at is the detail view. So you should be able to click here somewhere and then get to a detail view which shows you all the files that are in there and things like that. And to do that, I guess we have to make a link, and I'm wondering whether I want to make this in test-driven fashion. The linking itself, probably not. But of course, the detail view should partially be tested at least. I'm trying to take a few shortcuts here because manual testing in case of this app is so easy, and it's really not anything that is for production. Otherwise, you would probably go all in and all test driven. But let's see what the best approach here turns out to be. Okay, so first of all, let's have a look at how this works. Links are usually done like this here, so you have to prepend them with a hash just to prevent the browser to pick it up. Instead, you want to have the routing handled by the single page application or Angular routers. So this about route here works because in app.js, a route is set up accordingly. So that's how that looks here. And then you can set up a template URL, controller, even, and. So if you look at about, okay, there's nothing going on there. The about controller is here. Oh, that's the test. Why does it always show me the test first? And then it just adds some, just a sample basically, which is entirely unused. All right, so in the same style, we want to do this for our thing. And I think we can start by adding another when here. And I think that was the syntax for it. When kata. So that's the name of it. Then go to the template URL. We use kata detail HTML or kata details HTML. Controller is kata detail controller. And maybe we name it even controller as details. So this, let's make it details. This should allow me to address this would basically put my controller instance on the scope under the binding details. So I can just say details dot something and stuff will happen. So in theory, this will fail ungracefully, at least when I try to go there. So what about, oh yeah, maybe I wanna do it like this so that it has a clear prefix. So what if I want to go to kadas foo? Then things fail because nothing is there really. All right. Yeah, let's go to the views here. About main. I shall have another one. Kata details.html. Yeah. Until I know better, I'll just go with this so that there's something. So now it wants to have the controller, but can't find it. Fine, fair enough. About main. And that's the kata detail. Maybe I just call it kata then. Yeah. Kata.js. Now I have katas.js for the service and kata.js for the detail controller. Well, not too nice. Maybe I should call it detail instead. As long as I only have one detail, I think I would be good here. Can I rename this? Probably. Detail. Like this. I think that's a bit better. Because it will end up being details on the scope as well, right? If I remember correctly. There we go. It's details. Oh no. All right. That is that. And now it's just about setting it up. Maybe even adding a test for this. Because there might be something that I actually do want to test, even though I don't see it just yet. So again, I will try to write it down manually just to memorize how this goes. So Angular module needs to be defined as Qatar's app. Now I can put in a few things like controller, which should be the Kata detail controller, which has a constructor. For now it doesn't get anything, but I do know that I need the katas, right? I need this kata database in order to get some details. So katas service I want, and I just drop it in here. And this controller, oh yeah, and the scope I want as well, clearly. Whatever that is, in that case, should be one scope for the view at least. I didn't define anything, so I think I have one scope for the entire view by default. That's fine. So now I have the scope. I'm on the scope already as details. So now I can put my kata there if I like. Oh, and I need routing information, right? I need to know where I am. So does the main controller do anything with that already? No. It doesn't, but I think that's how that works. So the route provider will provide you with information here. Like this. And I shall put it in as well. Cool. And yeah, let's maybe just log it to see what's in there. It should at least give you the current route. All right. Yeah, let's see. Possibly that page loads already. It does. Nice. Even though it didn't. Oh, cutter detail controller is not a function. Got undefined. Oh, right. So I guess I. Huh. Let's have a look at the main controller then. Probably have to return something. No, I don't have to return anything. So what's the matter here? That should actually work. I take all of these in and I'm a controller. Argument cutter detail controller is not a function, got undefined. Oh, maybe I try to do something odd with that one. Main control, cutter detail control. Let's mark it. No. So it seems to relate. Oh yeah, of course. What about actually adding it to the index? I always forget this. Damn it. Sorry for that. I'm not fit for this. Not at all. So it's in detail.js, but it's a controller. I shall move it up a bit as well, like that. Cool. There we go. And now this should actually be better. Nope. Scripts, controllers, detail. Cool. Unknown provider, route provider. Okay. So let's see how it's done in the app. So he can do it. Maybe there's some typo in it. Looks good to me. Oh, probably. Maybe I have to define that as well to have ng route, something like that. Yeah. All right, I skipped a few parts, but I'm back in the meanwhile. I have implemented this. So you can now click the cutter that you selected and get to a detail view, as you can see. Pretty nice. And yeah, maybe it's worth it to put a little bit of an additional margin here. Description, background, color. But it should be an internal margin. So the first element in there should have an additional margin, right? So all elements have a margin left and margin right so that they don't hit the border so hard. And the top and bottom margin. So how do you select the first element? CSS select first element, child. That's kind of it. First child, awesome. So we should be able to do that by saying that the first, oh, look at that, it even knows this. First child. I don't know if I need this then. Let's see. Margin top. 10 pixels, and maybe at some point I should have, can I just assign a variable here? Like this. Markdown margin. I don't know what the style is usually. Maybe it's underscore here. That would be nice. If not, it's now. So it's 10px. Does it make sense? It doesn't really like that. Oh yeah, like this. And then it might actually like that. So let's try it with 1 markdown margin. So right now apparently it didn't hit it, or maybe it didn't go through. It went through. Maybe it wants this. Doesn't look too good. So the first child. So this one matches. And this one matches too. Look at that. Awesome. So it has 10 pixels margin here. Oh. It's kind of not what I expected. Not at all. So I would have expected this thing to have a margin top of 10 pixels. But it still looks very different. Maybe it's padding. Oh yeah, it's padding. Interesting. So margin left right works for the other stuff, but here you want to have padding top, I guess. Let's see if it does something. You should see, oh. No. Not so much still. I don't know where that thing is. Oh, now it works. Cool. So you want it to be looking like that. So the top should be that. And is there something like last child? There is something like that. Padding bottom is actually markdown margin. Like so. So it's all the same. Yeah, SCSS is really what you want, I suppose. You don't want to work without it. All right. So now it should actually, yeah, like this. Nice. So there's some space around it. And maybe the color, the color doesn't really matter. I can change that anytime. But that's kind of the general idea. The cool thing is that this is real markdown. And the next goal should be to pull it from a file, to get that markdown from elsewhere. Because right now I've written it here in line. And yeah, I was still looking for a cutter to use for this. And I thought Ruby cutters could be it, because people can then look at the Ruby example and maybe get an idea on how to do the thing in Rust. So I don't necessarily want to watch the video here, but it's only by video. No. Where's the code? This can't be. It's only videos, it seems. How come? Code Cutter is a team, pragmatic programmer. Okay. That's all videos. Okay. So apparently that's not it. I wonder why they don't have more material for each code cutter. Well, because it's only about casts. I think cutter might be a very specific one, a very specific term here. Because I know that at Rosetta Code or something, there are lots of examples. But it's usually real problems that have been solved like that, right? And yeah, do I see anything? Yes, to present a solution to same task in many different languages as possible. So maybe you have a kata for a task, right? Streams, input loop, randomness. Yeah, I'm not sure. Also, I don't find too much on the term programming kata. Jojo. It's probably. Oh, look here, Fizzbuzz. From Roman numerals. So a parsing thing, right? Parsing could be interesting. Wow, a PDF. Huh. Why is it German? And where is the example? I would expect some solutions to be presented as well. Yeah. Come on, real quick. So, here we want to find out what's going on. It does not execute properly. Maybe there should be a comma. Like this. Yeah, so that's interesting. Train on kata. Kata catalog. Is this behind a paywall? Probably it is. Create your own. Yeah. I didn't expect this to be so difficult. Find. Okay, videos. I'm not interested in videos. Terrible. I think there was one here, the one you usually find, and this one has what you would expect, even though it doesn't provide solutions. I wonder why. So is there something very, very simple? Counting code lines. Yeah, so that might be something. And I'm also thinking about how I want to integrate this onto my site, because right now I only have markdown, which should be fine. So here for this guy, I should be able to say Ruby, but probably it wants to be on multiple lines as well. I don't know how to do multi-line strings in JavaScript. Bad escaping of EOL. Use multi-string. Use option multi-string if needed. How does that work? Multi-line string. How do you do it? Come on. Okay, so that's how you do it. Good. I'm doing this already. Should be fine. Ruby, and then we say defu ab a times b and and not to forget, ended like this. Cool. So let's see how that goes. The linter doesn't like it, but I don't mind. That's kata 2. So it shows up as I would expect, but it can't do highlighting of also it kind of destroys my lines here. Why would that be? Huh. Interesting. As unexpected. How does it look like? I have the feeling that it's not what I think it is. Log scope cutter. So it's all in one line after all. Oh, also I'm dumb. So you want to put a new line here explicitly. Fine. It's not a raw string. So now the uline is there, as you can see, but still doesn't look good. Huh. That's a bit unexpected, because that's the least thing I would hope is working. Yeah. So let's try a few things. Here we put a headline, and then I put some text. Now it's a bit better. So it wants to have a new line here to work, I suppose. Hey, maybe it wants a new line at the end as well. Maybe it wants 2 new lines here. Huh. Or maybe it can't really do this. It starts the escaping of the text way too early, I think. Probably because I should probably implement. Okay. I slowly get it. Should probably implement fetching a file here to make it less awkward to type. Okay, once again, it screwed around with my spacing here. Good. And now let's see if Ruby makes sense to him. Yeah, so there seems to be no highlighting yet, but I'm certain that Showdown can do it. Showdown code blocks. Yeah, so ideally code syntax highlighting. Cool. So it can do it. With highlight.js, how do you combine that? And let's see if it can do that. At all. Oh. And maybe it wants to be here as well. Interesting. I don't know why it doesn't want that at all. So this kind of code block doesn't work here. But apparently if you do it like this with the indented thing, it will do what you expect. All right. That's kind of weird. You know, for me, this looks different as well. Okay, so how do you do it? You can get full source code by clicking on the version number of the page. Error not found. Yeah. So I guess if you do, it will probably detect it automatically. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like this. Interesting. Wants a space as well. Cool. So there it is. That seems to work just naturally. Awesome. So that's how you could do it for now. Okay. But let's implement something that allows me to use actual files here. So what about a description MD? And yeah, I might want to add a real cutter now, but a simple one, counting code lines. Single line comments. While coding your solution, consider structure of your code and see how it fits. Simple list. Does it mean if it has simple in the name, it's actually simple? Perhaps there's more than the humble list of values than you might think. Let's experiment with some basic list processing. Lists are one of the first data structures we learn. The list consists of node. Okay, so you're supposed to implement a linked list, which is a very interesting thing in Rust, actually. Yeah, so let's use that. So let's call this simple lists. Difficulty easy. And implement a linked list. Which is interesting because you will run into all sorts of issues with the borrow checking, I suppose. Even though I also don't like it. I don't find it very interesting, even though it could be. Yeah, no, let's put it in there. Just, maybe somebody finds it interesting. I'm more into command line tools that do something useful, be it a cutter or not, Maybe add to numbers as a command line tool could also be something. Yeah, we'll just do my own cutters, I guess, and try to pick a few. So here we go. I shall, of course, keep the URL. Original source. And yeah, I was doing something wrong here because short description, of course, should be camel cased. We're in JavaScript. After all. All right. Short description. Like that. Okay. Yeah, let's just kill this one. Because it doesn't matter. Then I can also actually remove this and start implementing real ones. Like so. So, what do I do? Yeah, I would like to have a description MD here. Simple lists. And this description MD is something that might just not exist right away. So maybe I want to have a function that is getDescription that pulls it and possibly catches it. Yeah, description is fetch description, and then we pass the cutter or the cutter name. Let's pass the entire cutter. That's how we do it. All right. So function fetch description so that we have full access to whatever there is. And we shall return probably we will return a promise, right? Okay, so how should this be regarding asynchronous stuff? That's the first step of many more, so we will have this async fetching a lot, I suppose. Yeah, so I think we'll just fetch the description and somebody can cache it or not. It is probably then done here on the controller side. And for this to work, we will need HTTP. So now I have to put some injection in place. Like so. Kata is unused. Yeah, probably the test will not work anymore. Well, probably it does work. Oh yeah, and sure, we want to actually use it. And then I can HTTP this and get on a URL. Probably I want to have a function that builds this function kata URL by name, and it returns do I have to add these? I think I have to add these katas and name should be joined with that. I don't know if join actually exists. Let's quickly test it. It does. Awesome. Cool. So that should be what we need to get a kata URL, and from there I can probably fetch the description. So what about kata URL with kata name and description MD? Yeah, it should be based on the fact whether there is a description or not, but there should always be a description, right? This is how that works. And of course I join it. I join it like this. All right. Now I have the URL. Is there anything else I want to support caching? Probably I want to look this up. Angular HTTP. Because I know there is a cache. I just don't know exactly how I can make it happen. There are these shortcuts, URL and config. Config is optional, but then probably supports all of this. Cache. What's the default? A true default HTTP cache will be used to cache the otherwise if a cache instance built with cache factory, this cache will be used for caching. Otherwise, if a cache instance built with cache factory, okay, so it can be a cache. It's still unclear what the default is. Probably it's false if they don't say it. Yeah, so let's make sure that we cache this. And yeah, description, async, how do I want to call this? Description promise. I want to call it, because then people can do what they want. We want to fetch description MD all the time, and that's it. So now I can say scope description. Oh no, wait, not like that. Scope description is now. That's the init part. And that now comes the async part with katas, description promise for my, maybe I want to have a variable kata here that I can use. Oh, come on, really? I can't grow the entire thing. That's very sad. Like this. So I can provide the kata to him. And then, if it works, I don't really want to handle failure here because that should really be there. Well, on the other hand, why not handle failure? So we pass a function with the description and can then just say scope description is now, not null, but the description we fetch, which should be just pure markdown. And in the other case, okay, like that. And in the other case, we put a pre-packaged thing there, which should not be markdown, but maybe put it into some markdownish thing. Yeah, let's just convert the error to a string and hope for the best. Scope description is error to string for now. You know, very cheap and ugly, but at least it's something. Okay, so we have this set at null for a while until it then fetches it. Let's see how that looks like. It should now not be able to fetch it. Oh yeah, and the description. Let's have a look at the detail HTML, how it looks like. Kata description. It's now just description. Good. Oh, type error text replace is not a function. Because probably I pass in something that is null as a description. And this should only happen, of course, if we have one, right? So I guess we want to have some ngIf going on there. I wouldn't mind to have an animation on that at some point, but I don't know how that works. So for now, we can just do it like this. Yeah. In the alternative case, will then be some sort of text field that shows that we are loading, right? Maybe just ... So while there is no description, we do it like that. Very simple. Hopefully. So, still, maybe it gets processed even though I probably have to put something around it then, huh? To make this work. Yeah, I guess so. So it needs a container or something. Yeah, let's have a container. And again, difficulties to select this, to grow the selection accordingly. Div class is container, like so. And now I can put my ngF here, I guess. All right. And the other one should only remain if necessary. Okay, so for a moment there was this, and I still have, apparently my object here is not what I think it is. Maybe the extra effort isn't even needed. Oh. I just closed my browser. Terrible. Yeah. So I guess that's also already, long enough for one episode. Let's have a look at how to really do this in the next one. Thanks for watching and have a good day.